All right, let's talk about birds. So, what makes a bird a bird? What are the characteristics that we most commonly see? Well, they can fly, but not all of them. Most of them can fly. However, they are endothermic. This is a difference between our reptiles, which are their closely related relative. These guys are able to generate their own body heat through metabolic reactions, which is pretty unique. They don't have ears. Instead, they have ear holes. They do have 2 legs. They have wings, and they're able to lay eggs. A large amount of the energy needed for flight. They need a large amount of energy for flight. So they actually have a very quick metabolism with a high heart rate, which is pretty cool about birds. They also have specialized feathers. These feathers are really actually important. Anything from the wing feathers to the tail feathers to the contour feathers to the down feathers. They allow for the bird to stay warm, and they also allow for flight. It's really important to understand that some of these feathers are just there for repellent. You'll also note that there's a wide variety of colors that can come from feathers. The plumage, or the most beautiful colors, are found in males, while females are pretty bland. They want to blend in. Whatever the bird's feathers, they always will have a lightweight skeleton with hollow bones. Remember, not all birds can fly. Some are great swimmers, and others are fast runners. Birds do have beaks that allow for their food source. As Charles Darwin already stated, you have a unique beak based on what you're gonna eat. And the shape is very specific for that. Evolution has allowed for them to have a variety of beak styles depending on the type of bird and food source they have. They also have a wide variety of feet, anywhere from landing, grasping, digging, or swimming. You can see here we have some different waterfowl, such as our mallard and coots. And then we have like a hawk and a woodpecker and a grouse and a crow, even a parrot and an ostrich. And you can see that some of them have webbing, while others have long toes with sharp nails, while others have curved, almost finger-like, because they're able to grasp onto that branch. While still, an ostrich has an extremely flat foot without as many nails. It's all depending on how they move. Here's what we do know. They have air sacs, which are connected to lungs that are able to hold air in the bird. This is important because this is where gas exchange happens. They also have a 4-chambered heart, and it has a septum that divides the ventricles. It also contains a pacemaker. We know this as the SA node. It sends electrical impulses, so you get that boom, 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 boom. The oxygen poor blood is kept on one side of the heart, while the oxygen-rich is kept on the other. This allows for a bird to have a very efficient circulatory system, and the oxygen and deoxygenated bloods do not mix. They always reproduce sexually. The mating of birds can be extremely elaborate. Typically, the female picks the mate. However, male birds do put on quite a show to gain their one female. Some birds are monogamous, which means they mate for life. They'll have one mate their entire life, while other birds will find another mate every mating season. But typically, here's what happens. They will reproduce, they'll lay eggs in a nest, one parent, depending, will always remain with them. Sometimes the male will watch them the entire time, while others the female will. They care for their young, and they feed them afterwards until they're old enough to fly off. When they're old enough to fend for themselves, they'll actually kick them out of the nest. Some species of birds are able to actually find a new mating pair. Once they get rid of their juveniles, they can go find another mate and have some more babies in the same summertime. It's pretty unique, actually. We have a few different types of birds, and here's our bird grouping. Let's start with terrestrial birds. These guys are the early flightless birds, and these are the modern flightless birds. Flightless birds are just the world's largest birds, and they're just too big to fly. Their wings do not support the massive body that they have. They're typically found in islands, and the reason that is because, well, they didn't have any predators, so what did they care if they could fly? They could lay their eggs on the ground, and so they do not make nests in the air. We have things like emperor penguins that are able to actually mate, and then the male will carry and care for the baby, the egg, not in a nest, but between the fat layer of skin and his feet. And if that baby touches the cold Arctic floor, the egg will freeze to death. Big responsibility, Daddy. Big responsibility. Another one is a perching bird. These are birds that perch on branches. As we can see here, these are ones that we know of, like a blue jay, a cardinal, a nightingale, a robin. These are all birds that perch. They have beaks that are based upon their food source. Are you seed eaters or are you insect eaters, typically? They'll always make their nests in trees. Some of them will migrate, while others will stay throughout the entire winter in the harsh conditions. However, when we have some of these perching birds, they'll always return to places where food is readily available. The other terrestrial bird and the last one are the birds of prey, not the movie. These are your hawks, your falcons, your eagles, your vultures, whatever they may be. These guys are active hunters with a keen vision. They have curved talons with sharp claws on them. They will also have curved, sharp beaks, as we can see right here. And that's for whipping the flesh from their prey. One of the problems with these guys is they're also scavengers, which means if there's a dead animal, they're going to eat on it. The problem with that is sometimes these dead animals lay on the sides of roads or on roads, and they'll be often hit by vehicles. Once they're hit, these guys have no way to fend for themselves. And so we do actually have a lot of places that are able to rescue them and then return them back to the wild after they returned. Another type is aquatic birds. Aquatic birds, such as our flightless penguins, our mallards, our ducks, our geese, they have webbed feet for swimming. They have large beaks so that they can catch prey, usually fish, krill, some type of aquatic vertebrate or invertebrate. They also have wading birds. These guys are going to be your herrings, your storks, your egrets, and your flamingos. They have long, slender legs. And did you know the reason a flamingo is pink is because of the food source it eats? The krill in which the flamingo eats has a very high concentration, and the pigment comes from that. And so they actually turn pink based on their food source. Just as if you ate carrots and only carrots, you would turn orange. Weird. Don't do that. Okay. So these guys are really quite diverse. They will migrate, and so they usually will go somewhere like the Arctic, Canada, per se, and they'll lay their eggs because there's less predators. And then they fly south for the winter to warmer weather. They're not able to usually stay in the same spot. Most of them will hibernate. A lot of them will have mating partners, and some of them will even mate for life.